Sources have told us that Trump and his team are planning to expand efforts to limit China's tech advancements, including tougher chip curbs and perhaps pressuring allies to also get in line. Let's bring in Min Lo, our China correspondent, for more details on what we know so far.
Yeah, so the Trump administration is now sketching out a tougher restriction regime on these chip export restrictions to China. And Trump administration officials have been meeting with their counterparts from Japan and Netherlands to discuss ASML and Tokyo Electron's disallowing those engineers from servicing these chip-making gears in China. And of course, when this servicing is stopped, it could cause these chip-making gears to lose their functionality. And aside from that, they're looking at tightening the restrictions in terms of the exports of advanced chips to China, including restricting the sale of these specific chips designed for China to meet the pre-existing restrictions that have been imposed by the Biden administration. Trump officials also looking at potentially toughening restrictions on SMIC, which is Huawei's main manufacturing partner, as well as Changxin Memory Technologies, which is a key front runner in the Chinese chip race. And on top of that, remember we had that rather complex sort of AI diffusion rule where the US had divided the world into 3 different tiers, imposing a computing cap on how much computing power you can sell to each tier of countries. And officials now looking at limiting or lowering that threshold of computing power that can be exported without additional license. So again, expanding that overall license requirement, which already had drawn pretty sharp rebuke from companies, including the likes of Nvidia, that had been hoping that the Trump administration would take a lighter regulatory touch here.
You see there SMIC, for instance, and it's been quite a stunning reversal for that name so far in the session. How is China likely to react?
Well, I mean, this has been going on for so long, and there's just 2 competing narratives here, right? Whether that doubling down of restrictions on China will cause China to just pour in more investments and push ahead with more out-of-the-box innovation that have fueled the likes of the breakthroughs from DeepSeek, for example. And there's the other idea of whether that would actually curtail China's rise. And so far, we have seen some companies, the likes of ByteDance, even DeepSeek, considering ways to skirt around these restrictions without violating U.S. rules, for example, by looking at renting servers overseas in data centers in Southeast Asia, for example, that are powered by Nvidia chips. That's one possible method to go about it. But you can imagine that at some point, U.S. regulators will likely also catch up with that. At this point, it's not clear what, countries like Japan and Netherlands would do in response to this new administration. So a lot of moving parts. And again, that sort of game of cat and mouse regulatory catch-up that will likely keep playing out throughout the rest of the year.
Donald Trump shocked the market when he announced that he plans to put more chip export restrictions on China, hurting the U.S. company's growth and stocks in the process. With key talks involving semiconductor giants like Tokyo Electron and ASML Holding, as well as industry titan Nvidia, the strategic dance around restricting China's chip ambitions continues. But what exactly is brewing behind the scenes? With Trump officials recently huddling with Japanese and Dutch representatives, the plot thickens, leaving many to wonder, what will these maneuvers mean for the future of technology and the growth of Nvidia? Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
So are you worried about tomorrow night or not?
Yes!
You are?
I am!
Oh, all right.
I wouldn't have picked that up. I am worried, because I think it really turned out to be that hard to make Blackwell, and we do know, by the way, that Blackwell, that Dell's got a good relationship, and some micro of HPE was late. But if I'm not, I'm looking at the government. I thought the government was off the table.
Well, there's
Why do you feel like? Sorry to interrupt. Why do you feel like it is on the table?
Because the stories this morning said it was on the table.
You got
because I made it up. I had a nightmare.
Has Navarro sent you some coded message? What's going on?
Let's just find out. Enough with your guesswork.
He's gonna. We'll get on the phone with Navarro and figure out whether tomorrow they're gonna. No, I mean, I'm just to Carl's point. You're worried. You're bringing up the government for the first time in a while in terms of even this idea of banning the lowest end chips in China.
Well, I mean, look. Let's understand.
Where's that coming from?
They say that they're going to do more. Okay. Well, what is there to do more? They've already restricted almost everything. They send them the lowest end chips. They obviously still can use those. That's it, okay? Right. And they've restricted, and I don't know, look, remember the Biden administration on the Saturday night before they ended, they had 18
that's what
countries?
I was referring to, yes.
But I'm just saying that, I feel confident that NVIDIA has a good business model, but I don't know whether, if the government says, listen, we're not going to let you sell chips to all the countries that he just did a charming charm toward to. Look at you, if you're not worried.
No, listen,
what
and to Carl's point, and the story, DeepSeek did manage to do something that is relatively competitive with others with H20s, meaning you can do a lot with them.
But you saw the video
creative.
about Jensen saying that it's really post-training and that this is very good.
Yes.
And what'd you think?
What did I think of what?
The post-training video.
I think inference is going to be what it's all about, right?
And post-train and inference.
But I also thought that they did show, in terms of reinforcement learning, mixture of experts, the things that they used at DeepSeek, which are obviously available to those who also have similar products here and are known, is a way to both potentially not use as much compute power and power.
It doesn't work for humanoid.
Get a lot out of it.
It doesn't work for humanoid. It doesn't work for video. It doesn't work for self-driving.
Right, so now you're speaking in favor of NVIDIA and all the reasons why chip sales are going to continue to be quite strong.
I am speaking in favor of NVIDIA. It doesn't mean I'm not worried about the quarter.
Okay.
Look, what does the government mean when it says it has to crack down more? The government was cracking down so severely on these guys that I'm shocked that they have to crack down.
The tangled web of semiconductor restrictions becomes more elaborate as the U.S. allies itself with Japanese and Dutch counterparts to curtail China's technological advent. At the core of these discussions is the continued restriction of technology giants such as Tokyo Electron and ASML Holding from offering their services and products in China, a path Biden tread, but Trump now accelerates. With Washington's grand design to halt China's semiconductor ascension, these maneuvers aim to bolster U.S. and allied tech hegemony. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
That the Trump administration is eyeing even tougher restrictions on semiconductor exports to China than the recent Biden administration had put in place, and those were seen as tough at the time. Citing people familiar with the matter, Bloomberg reports that the Trump administration officials are holding meetings now to discuss new limits with key U.S. allies and working on a longer list of restrictions that could be put in place in the coming months. Now, the goal here is to slow China's overall technological progress, and especially so in sensitive areas like artificial intelligence. The Trump team is looking at three specific possibilities: curbs on sales of chips that Nvidia designed specifically for China, reducing the computing power that can be exported without a license, and putting more restrictions on types of Nvidia chips that can be exported without a license.
Well, those looming U.S. restrictions you just talked about are expected to keep Nvidia's guidance in check, since they would tighten measures on GPU, or we can call them AI, chip sales to China. Morgan Stanley, just one example of sell-side research that bets Nvidia's April Q1 guidance may not be as grand as everyone hoped, but should still move up at least an average of $2 billion, so not bad. And that's because Nvidia still sells export-compliant AI chips to China. They're called the H20s. The success of China's DeepSeek large language model has caused really a surge in H20 orders just over the last month for customers like Tencent and Alibaba. The assumption, though, and this assumption has been going on for a while, that's why this may not necessarily be new news, is that these chips would be the next to be restricted, which explains why NVIDIA has been so vocal about the potential damage, saying, quote, in a blog post, these rules would do nothing to enhance U.S. security. The administration worries China, though, has been circumventing the rules that are already in place, going through Singapore or buying on the secondary market. It's hard to stop when a quick eBay search, which I did this morning, will show NVIDIA hoppers that you're seeing on your screen selling at about $29,000 a piece. NVIDIA has a relatively low exposure to China at around 15% of revenues, according to IO Fund, similar to both AMD and Micron, but equipment manufacturers, they're the ones that have greater exposure. Almost half of ASML's business goes to China. Lam and Applied Materials also face significant risk, which really makes the administration's efforts to contain China's AI ambitions a real high-stakes game with billions hanging in the balance, but none of this is expected to be imminent in, let's say, the next month or so.
Then there's Nvidia, a company that's found itself in the limelight. Its shares took a subtle hit, tantalizingly linked to whispers of further restrictions targeting its specialized AI chips designed for China. It's a narrative that fits snugly in Washington's geopolitical chess game, where each semiconductor producer, every silicon wafer, plays a critical role on the board. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Tim had some comments about these hyperscalers and what they're spending. They will reiterate that, and I think that I just want to emphasize a piece related to DeepSeek relative to what the hyperscalers said. Going into DeepSeek, just before it came out, the hyperscalers were expected to increase their CapEx spend by 20% in calendar 25. Now it's expected to be just above 40%. That's a meaningful move higher. And so I think that really is important. And I think the substance of that, and we may not see that in how NVIDIA trades on Thursday morning, but I think the substance of this is that the AI hardware trade will last longer than most investors expect, and understand kind of the apprehension about the funk that the AI trade is right now. But if what these hyperscalers are saying is true, companies like NVIDIA should have more upside throughout this year than investors are currently anticipating.
So, Jane, what's the other side of that, though? So I hear you, and I kind of agree with everything you just said, but DeepSeek introduced a level of at least uncertainty around what spend means, and who benefits from DeepSeek, and have you gotten bullish because of DeepSeek in other directions?
Yeah, I think that I'll say what consensus is that consensus is DeepSeek has been a positive for AI hardware. It's NVIDIA stock hasn't reflected it. Market's not buying it, but that's what I think that's the substance of this. I think when it comes to the cost of AI inference, it's going to go through the floor. Sam Altman said after DeepSeek that they expect the cost of tokens to go down 10 to 12x per year for their second tier model. I mean, that's basically through the floor. And I think the third piece to this, if those two happen, we get this hardware build out, we get the cost of compute or the cost of inference declining, I think you're going to see some just profound impacts. And so I'm still bullish on this market. I think that what we're seeing right now is a funk, and I think that we still got 2 great years left of this AI trade.
With the U.S. poised to refine its semiconductor policies, firms like NVIDIA become ever more pivotal. Their innovative prowess, especially at the frontier of AI technology, suggests a robust growth trajectory despite the geopolitical tumult. As such, NVIDIA's position in the market may well strengthen, bolstered by its vast arsenal of technological advances and strategic agility. But what do you think? Share your thoughts? Finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.